Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a work tote comparison video. I thought this might be interesting for some of you because certainly when I'm looking for a new work tote, I take it really seriously. I do a lot of research because you're going to be using it almost on a daily basis. It's important to make sure that not only is it functional and durable and all those kind of things, but it also looks stylish and that it's value for money and all those different elements. So I have 4 bags for my collection today and I'm going to be kind of going through them, comparing them and telling you the pros and cons of each and sharing which bags I tend to reach for the most. So the 4 bags I have are my Louis Vuitton Neverfull in the GM size, my Goyard St. Louis in the PM size, my Chanel GST and also my Longchamp Le Plage bag as well. I'm also going to be sharing a couple of bags which I had previously bought but which I no longer have in my collection because they didn't turn out to be good work bags for me. So I hope that you guys find this useful and I'm gonna get stuck right in. So I have all of my bags here. There's quite a lot of them. So as you can see, it's my Longchamp and my Goyard, my Louis Vuitton Neverfull, sorry, mind blank, and then my Chanel GST as well. I've had all of these for a pretty long time. The longest is my Goyard bag and then probably followed by my Neverfull, my Longchamp, and then the most recent is my Chanel GST, which I did actually unbox on this channel. So yeah, I think I'm going to probably start with my Chanel bag first. I'm going to go through them all, tell you what I think of them, and then kind of go on to comparing them and sharing my thoughts on which I prefer and which I think makes a good work tote. So this is the Chanel GST and this definitely is the most expensive of all the work bags I'm going to show you today. This retails for $1,950 or thereabouts. I managed to get mine for a bit cheaper because I got it from Heathrow, so if you can do that then you will save about £300 off the normal retail price. However, it's still a very hefty investment, you know, even £1,600 is still a lot of money. So I'm going to kind of go through the bag and share with you whether I think it's worth it. So in the back you have just a pocket right there. I don't really carry anything in it, but you definitely could. I mean, it's pretty substantial. And then you also just have a whole bunch of compartments on the inside, and to be honest, that's the number one thing I love about this bag, that there are so many compartments because I just find it so useful for organising my life and making things really easy to find. So you have the 2 kind of big empty spaces here, and then you have a zipper pocket right here. And then you have another kind of open pocket right there, and then you have the main zipper pocket as well. So there are a ton of compartments, lots of different pockets you can put things in, and for me I love this middle zipper pocket in particular because this is where I put my keys, my phone, my cash, all the things I want to keep extra safe, just to kind of, you know, especially if you're working in a city, just to have that extra layer of security, because it is an open tote and I've definitely had it when I've gone to Covent Garden on my lunch break. I have had my wallet stolen out of bag, none of these bags before, but if you do have a kind of open tote or an open bag, it's definitely a risk. So I like the fact that there's a zipper pocket there just to keep my belongings extra safe. The lining is in nylon, which is fine by me because I think especially when you're using it every day, you want something that you can kind of wipe clean easier, and also something that isn't going to add extra weight. In terms of the weight, it's not super light, but it's also not super heavy. I mean, I can definitely feel it right now, but it's not going to be an issue unless you really load it down, but it's going to be an issue no matter what the bag if you load it down, I guess. So not an issue for the weight for me personally. The one thing that does bug me though are the chains. I mentioned this in my GST review if you watched that, but it's definitely an issue because if you see, I can just pop it on my shoulder there, which is great, and for me I always go for shoulder bags for work because I don't want to be carrying just the top handle, you know, I want to be fuss free. Usually I have more than one thing to carry, so I like to just be able to sling bags on my shoulder and go, and that's exactly the problem, the fact that the shoulder straps slip off. And you know, there are tricks you can do to kind of get it stay on. You can like overlap or kind of unlay the straps, however they do still slip off a little bit, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. It's not the easiest bag to kind of sit on your shoulder and just be carefree. You can get it to stay there obviously by holding it, and as I said, you can loop it over, and you know, I think with time the leather does soften, so it does make it an easier bag to wear, but a lot of the time you may have to just wear it in the crook of your arm or by the hand. So I didn't realise that when buying it. I'm not 100% sure whether I would have bought it knowing how difficult it is to get it to stay on my shoulder. That said, with some patience, I do think that it will get better and it will mold. I have seen some ladies who have had their GSTs for years and love them and wear them all the time and wear them on their shoulders all the time, so I do think it would get better, but it does require some patience in the beginning. In terms of what can fit in it, so I do have my laptop here, which I thought it would be a kind of easy test just to see if it fits in all the bags I'm going to show you. This one does fit in, but it's very, very snug. So as you can see, it fits in, but not only is it really, really heavy now, but I don't know, I just think that takes up too much room, and for me that's just a bit too much of a snug fit. And that is another thing which prevents me from reaching for this as a work bag more often, is the fact that because there are so many compartments, you can't fit as much in it. So I know I said I love the compartments, and I do, but I also like to bring my own lunch to work, and I like to have a green juice during the day and all those different things, and I can't fit those things in my bag. And I don't know whether I'd want to put a green juice in here anyway, because I've done that with other bags and it has spilt, but I like to be able to have the option of at least putting a bottle of water or anything I might need during the day. Because of the compartments, you're kind of limited to what you can exactly fit in. So that's definitely something to keep in mind as well. This isn't going to be a kind of one bag kind of fits all kind of tote, and so if I carry this, then it's almost guaranteed that I'm going to need to bring another bag with me to carry the extras like my lunch and things like that, which I'm not generally a huge fan of. I like to just have the one bag and then just kind of stuff everything in that. So I do like this because I think that it looks very chic and it looks very professional. I think it's probably the most classic looking of all the bags that I'm going to show you today. It does have that very strong Chanel aesthetic, and I think this looks good for, you know, meetings at work, just day to day, but also, you know, going out for drinks at night. Like, I think it suits a lot of different occasions, but it is limited because of the space and the structure and all those kind of things. So I do like it, but it's not something that I reach for every single day. So the second bag I'm going to show you is my Goyard St. Louis tote, and I got this about 5 years ago when I graduated uni. It was a present from my mum, it was a graduation present, and I'd been lusting after this bag for so long. I had seen Diane Kruger with a version, well, it was this bag, but it was in a different colorway, I think. I think it had the brown straps, and I loved it. I love her style, and so I really wanted one. I wanted one with the monogram, something that I would be able to keep forever, and so she treated me to it, and I do absolutely love it. I think that the design is beautiful. I love the monogram, and I think if you're after a kind of monogram look or something that is still very luxurious and very designer, but you're not after something as in your face as the Louis Vuitton monogram, then this is a great choice. It's a lot more under the radar. I think the vast majority of people, if you ask them, wouldn't necessarily know who Goyard is, so it's a really great option if you are concerned about being too flashy. You don't want any obvious labels, but you still do like the kind of monogram effect. It's very, very plain on the back, so this is what it would look like, you know, just if you didn't have any personalization, and obviously I do on the front. On the inside, it's just a big old empty tote basically. You do get a little pouch like you do with the new Louis Vuitton Neverfulls, and this is really handy. You can just use this as a purse or whatever you want. You know, it doesn't fit that much, but it's a handy little pouch, so I really like the fact that this came with it. In terms of the use, I like this. However, one thing which does kind of bug me are the straps. So the straps aren't really, really long. I can definitely put it over my shoulder, but I mean, the drop there isn't huge. And if I'm wearing a coat or something like that, which I often am because England's very cold, it's a struggle to kind of put it on my shoulder and get it to stay there. So this isn't one that naturally stays on my shoulder either. Even though I've had it for a really long time, the straps still are quite rigid, and so this isn't quite as easy as sling on my shoulder and go, especially if I'm wearing layers. Obviously I'm just wearing a really thin top right now, but if I was going to wear a coat and knitwear, I wouldn't really be able to get this on comfortably and get it to stay there. So that's definitely something to consider. So again, this is often more of a hand tote or a crook of the arm kind of tote. I would say it's also quite a bit flimsier than, for example, your Louis Vuitton Neverfull. I mean, I don't know whether you can see, but it feels and it looks flimsy, so it doesn't hold its shape very well. It creases very easily, and the material is just very, very thin. Because of that, it's very light, so if you're after a light bag, this is a great choice. However, because it is thin, the wear and tear on the bag isn't great, so I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but oh, there's the pouch. it's already starting to wear, and I have not used this bag much. So I haven't used this bag for, well, I do use it every now and then, but I haven't used it consistently, as in on a daily basis, for probably about 4 years. I used it for the first year a lot because obviously it was new and I was in love with it, but as soon as I started seeing that wear, it just kind of put me off, and I didn't want to wreck the bag because it was a graduation present. I wanted to kind of preserve it, and so I really stopped using it, and that's like a proper hole, and it is lined so it doesn't go all the way through, but you can see it's happening on pretty much all of the edges to some extent. It's the worst there because it actually has kind of gone through to the lining. So I was definitely a bit disappointed with the quality for something that cost as much as it did. I think that this, how much did this cost? I feel like it was around £800 including the personalisation, so it was a pretty expensive purchase. If I can find the exact price in the receipt, I will list it down below. But for something that costs this amount of money, I would have thought it would have been slightly better quality and slightly more durable. So whilst I do like it, I do rarely reach for this because I don't want to ruin it any further, and I don't want to get to the point where I have to throw it out or it's unusable. So I use this only occasionally now. I reach for it when I kind of look at it and go, oh, I really love that bag, I'm gonna take it out for the day. But on a daily basis, I just can't use this because I don't think that it's going to be able to withstand the wear and tear. So for easy comparison, I have here the Goyard and then the Louis Vuitton Neverfull. I mean, this is huge, it doesn't even really fit on camera, but you can kind of see the size difference. So I just kind of show you that way. And the big thing to note here is the strap drop. So you can see the Louis Vuitton straps are that much longer, and this makes it a really comfortable bag to wear on the shoulder, whereas it makes it a lot more tricky to wear on the shoulder because this is so much shorter. So I mean, the Goyard PM size is definitely still a good size. You can still fit a ton in it, but it's just not quite as roomy as the Louis Vuitton GM or even the St. Louis GM, but still a really good tote. You could definitely fit, you know, your laptop, A4 documents, anything you might need, but it's important to keep in mind the strap length and then also the wear and tear. So moving on to the Louis Vuitton Neverfull, and this is not only one of my favourite work bags, but it's one of my favourite bags of all time. I absolutely love this bag. I've mentioned it before in videos, and I just think it's such a great bag. I think these retail for $755 now, I think, and I didn't pay that. I think I paid 500 and something. I got mine a while ago, but worth every penny. I would happily pay $750 now for it because I think it's just a great bag. It is canvas, so you're not getting leather, so that's something to keep in mind. You do get the kind of leather trim, of course, but I personally love the fact that it's canvas. It makes this bag pretty much indestructible. I mean, looking at the corners, there is absolutely zero wear on it. I mean, from the bottom it looks pretty much brand new. You definitely can see that the leather, the vachetta, has patinaed quite a bit. Some of this is dirt, I think, so I could probably do with cleaning it, and that is something that I really do have to do. But I mean, I think it's still in pretty good shape considering. I've used this pretty much consistently, almost on a daily basis for about 2 years, so with that in mind, I mean, it's just held up beautifully. You know, there's nothing wrong with the stitching, the straps are as strong as ever, and I have filled this bag to the brim. You know, sometimes it's so heavy it makes my back and shoulders hurt, but it's still held up beautifully. On the inside, I mean, I think everyone's familiar with this bag, but it's just a big, huge, roomy tote. You just have the one pocket right there where you can put kind of valuables and things like that. The fact that it is a big, roomy tote is great because you can fit so much in it. I often use this as a travel bag and it works perfectly because it's so huge and you can fit so much in it, but because of that it's impossible to find things, and I need to be more disciplined about putting keys and stuff like that in this pocket, but sometimes I just chuck things in and it's a nightmare. I can be there for like 10 minutes trying to find my keys, but apart from that I think it's great. It fits really, really easily on my shoulder. And I mean, you can see this is a really big bag. You can kind of tuck the sides in like that. I don't do that. I don't know why. I just like the look of it just being really kind of this huge tote. I like the style of the the size down as well, but when I went to try it on, I just thought this was the perfect size and I thought it'd be the most versatile for me, and it completely is. I am quite tall, keep in mind, so I am 5'7", so I think, you know, if you're a bit short this might look a bit overwhelming, but in general I think this is just such a great bag, and for the money that you're paying I just think you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. You know, it is It's a very recognisable tote, so that's something you have to keep in mind, and it depends on where you work, I think. For every work environment that I've been in, this has been totally fine, and I've used this, you know, to carry all my stuff in on a daily basis, and it's worked just beautifully. So the last bag I'm going to share with you is the Longchamp Le Pilage bag, and this is just such a wonderful, versatile bag. I think it is the bag that I'm currently using at the moment, except I'm using it in a different style. So I'm using this one instead, which is a limited edition print, which I just think is so cute, and it has a little heart print on the back. Very, very sweet, but I just find this bag so perfect for this time of year because the weather is so unpredictable. One minute it's sunny, one minute it's raining. I really like the fact that it doesn't look out of place in the summer because it's so lightweight, but also if it starts to rain, then it's great because it's waterproof, and you also have the zip. All the other bags I showed you don't have zips for the entire part, and so your contents do get wet, which if you're carrying a laptop is less than ideal. So I love the fact that this will protect my laptop if I'm carrying it with me. It's also just a very, very lightweight and functional bag. It fits easily on the shoulder. The only problem is that when I first owned it, or when I first bought it, it did kind of slip off quite easily. However, now that I've started weighing it down a bit more, the leather does seem to have molded to my shoulder a bit more, so that's less of an issue now. Going to open it up for you, and you see it's just a very, very kind of open tote. There aren't any compartments or anything, so you do have the same problem with the other tote bags, and that things can get lost very easily unless you use a kind of another smaller bag inside. You just have the one pocket right there. It's very small though, so I just tend to put my Oyster card and some keys in there. But apart from that, it's a very, very simple bag. There's not an awful lot to it. Just a very, very classic design. You do see these absolutely everywhere in London, so it seems like every single woman in London has one of these. They are very, very common in this and also the tote style as well. So this definitely isn't one for you if you want to be unique, because yeah, they just are so, so common. However, they're common, I think, for a reason. They're a really great price point, so I think these are about £65–70. They do run a bit more expensive if you get a limited edition line like the one I just showed you, but in general I think you can get them for about £65 to maybe £75, so pretty inexpensive, especially considering that, you know, some of the other ones I showed you today were obviously much more expensive. So for the look, I think it's really great value for money. I think it does look smart. However, I would be a bit concerned about maybe taking this to a meeting or somewhere that I had to look very smart, because even though it looks fine now, I do find that when I load it down it does sag and it just doesn't hold its shape very well because there is no structure to the bag essentially. So it's not the smartest looking of the bags that I think I've showed you here today, and for that reason I tend to use this just on days where I know I don't have any big meetings or I don't have to go anywhere fancy, because for me it's just not quite smart enough. That said, for an everyday sling around bag, I think this is such a great choice. I will say that even though it's relatively inexpensive, the wear and tear isn't that great. So I mean, this isn't really, I've not used this much, so maybe 20 times I would say, and already you can see there is some wear and tear on the corners. My mum uses these bags every single day and she's gone through about, I think maybe 4 of them, and she's been using them for 2 to 3 years, and they just always inevitably wear out, whether it's the corners or the zipper. Something always happens. She doesn't mind because she loves the bag, and because of the price point she doesn't mind replacing it every 6 or 9 months. However, if you're buying this with the thinking that it's going to last you years and years and years, in my experience that just isn't the case. They just don't last that long. However, that is also the wear and tear, so if you are very careful with your bags and you don't pack them with heavy items, then they could last you a lot longer. For me, I put everything in my work totes and they do get quite heavy, so that's perhaps why they don't last me as long, but in my experience this isn't particularly durable. However, for day-to-day practicality, I do think it's a really, really good choice, especially for the price point. And you know, you can get different colours and sometimes limited edition prints, so you can have a slightly more unique look if you really try. You can personalise them as well, I think, if you order from the Longchamp online website. So there are options, and I think it's a very chic bag. Like, I'm a big fan of the Longchamp, so I think this is a great option. If you are looking for something a little bit more inexpensive, then this is a wonderful one. Finally, I thought I would just kind of model them all for you. I know I've been kind of putting them on my shoulder throughout, but I thought this might be useful if you want to see how they look like. So first one is the Goyard. Just looks like that. Then on the shoulder, Again, it fits neatly here, but I am wearing a very thin top. It is a bit of a stretch if I'm wearing a coat. And then the Longchamp if you want to see one that's full, I do have this one, which is, it has quite a bit of stuff in it. And then my Louis Vuitton Neverfull, which is enormous and fills up the entire camera screen. And finally my Chanel GST. So those are the bags I want to show you from my collection. As you can see, that there's probably a clear favourite in my Louis Vuitton Neverfull, closely followed by the Longchamp Le Plage bag. I think that you can't really go wrong with those two bags. I definitely use my Neverfull the most because not only do I love the look of it, I love the functionality, you know, the practicality, I just love everything about it, except for the fact that I do lose my keys quite a bit in it. Apart from that, I think it's the perfect work tote. I could not recommend it highly enough. The Longchamp is also a great choice. My lesser favourites would be the Goya St. Louis tote, just because of the wear and tear, and the Chanel GST, because even though I love the look of it, I don't think it's as functional because of the shoulder strap and also because of the price as well. The other bags which I have owned in my collection, which I've now sold, include the Michael Kors Jet Set tote and also the Prada tote. I don't know the Prada tote's name, but I will insert a picture somewhere here. And I sold both those bags because they just didn't work out for me at all. They're both made of the Saffiano leather, I believe, and the Michael Kors bag I bought not the last holiday I went to America, but the holiday before, and I used that for a few weeks when I came back. I took it to Greece when I went on holiday there. I did like it. I got it in the black and white stripe and I thought it looked very chic, but I just didn't get on with it. The leather was a bit too rigid and it was very, very boxy for me, and it was also very heavy because the straps weren't particularly comfortable, because again it was made of that really rigid leather. It was just a very uncomfortable bag for me to wear. I took it on holiday and it was great for that because I thought it still looked quite chic, but it wasn't so expensive that I was worrying about ruining it. But even so, I still ended up selling that bag because it wasn't a very comfortable bag, and for me comfort is like the #1 thing I look for, and so I wasn't reaching for it for that reason, so I thought there was no point in keeping it in my collection. The Prada tote, similarly, it was a handheld bag, and that was my mistake. It's taken me a long time to realise that. I'm really not a handheld bag kind of girl, and it just didn't work out for that reason. I thought it looked very chic, it looked very professional and business-like, but for me I felt silly. I felt almost like I was kind of playing dress up going to work with my little almost briefcase type bag, and it just wasn't practical. I couldn't fit my lunch in it, I couldn't fit all the things I need, I couldn't fit my laptop, and it was just a no-go for me, so I ended up selling that as well. I have seen lots of women with the Prada bag though, and they look great with it. Similarly, I've seen lots of women with the Michael Kors bag. They're pretty common in London, but yeah, just for me they didn't quite work out. I think my choices do probably reflect the wider public opinion, especially in London. The two most common bags I see are the Longchamp, as previously mentioned, but also the Louis Vuitton Neverfull. That's a really, really common bag, especially considering it's a slightly higher price point. I just see a ton of them, like they are everywhere in both the GM and the MM size. I see mostly the monogram, but I also see a lot of the Damier Ebene as well. I don't really see any of the Damier Isère, I'm not really sure why, but yeah, those two styles I do see a lot of. It's a really, really popular bag in London, so if you want something a bit more unique and you do live in London, maybe those aren't the best choices for you, but for me I don't really mind that. I don't mind kind of having the same thing as everyone else, because if it works, it works, and it's popular for a reason, and I can completely see why, because those are definitely my two favourite work bags. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it and you found it useful. If you feel like I missed anything out, then leave me a comment below and I will definitely get back to you with an answer. I will leave some extra info though below in the description section, so prices, sizes, things like that. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, thank you so much for watching and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.